Just want to tell you folks about a quick universal mod you can do to most amplifiers of the Fender type variety. By Fender type variety, I mean any amp that uses the 0.1 for the bass control, 0.1 cap, and the 0.047 for the middle control. That's commonly used on just about all blackface type Fenders, all Mesa Boogies, just about any Fender clone type amp out there that uses the traditional design layout. And that's a good design for sitting around the house and dialing in lots of juicy, pillowy bass when you're sitting on your couch and playing guitar. But if you take the amp out and play out a little bit, what you find is that bass isn't as useful, and you end up running with the bass control on 2, 3, or even 0, pushing up the mid control, and then struggling with the treble control to try and dial in some mid-bottom without making the amp sound ice picky. So for years, Ken Fisher had promoted an idea. It's the Ken Fisher mod, or the Trainwreck mod, and that was to remove those two caps and replace them with 0.02 treble and bass caps, similar to what was done in the Bassman or the Marshalls. The other suggestion from Ken's mod was to replace the treble cap with a silver mica cap. I've used that mod for many years, changing the mid and bass caps to 02, and I figured I'd share that with you. But since then I've gone a step, or in this boogie I've gone a step beyond that, and I've replaced the 0.1 and the 047 with 0047, 0.0047. You could also use 0.01 or the original 0.02 as suggested. What happens when you make that swap is your mid-range frequency shifts up slightly, and the control of the bass frequencies moves up slightly, which allows you to dial in a lot more bass and mids, and allows you, using the treble control, to fine-tune your tone more carefully. The best description of what this can be like on the extreme is it can be, a friend of mine said, it cuts like a laser beam, and that's perhaps not fair, but it really puts your lead tone out front, and it really eliminates problem frequencies and allows you to selectively dial in as much mids or bass as you want without getting in the way of the kick drum or just throwing mud out into the audience. So the total mod on this amp is two 0047s, so 0.0047. So this is something I've experimented with before, but suits this amp. And I left the original disc cap, but in this particular boogie, the slope resistor was 150K, and I've reduced that to 56K. And what the slope resistor does is it sets the distance, so to speak, between your treble frequencies and your bass frequencies. And so by reducing the size of the slope resistor, again, the mids come up, and as you dial from treble to bass on the treble control, you have a lot less of a wide gap in terms of those sounds. Essentially, what all this does is it should make the tone controls far more usable in a live setting. You do lose some bottom end, which you typically only use sitting around the house, but also those bottom end frequencies you lose are the least useful. This particular mod not only applies to this boogie, but it would apply to just about any traditional Fender style amp that uses the 047 and 0.1 tone control setup. So that's just about everything after the blackface era onwards, including Hot Rod Deluxes and things like that, where you can dial out some of the bottom end flub by playing with this. And you don't have to stick to the 02 values suggested by Ken Fisher. The classic Super Reverb, which is a very popular amp, uses factory stock, an 02 for the middle control and a 0.1 for the bass control. And obviously you can do those kinds of staggered setups where you shift the mid-range control only or shift up the bass control only in order to get your personal sound. Let's hear the amp. So this is the modified amp. Clean channel. Let me dial this in a little bit. You can hear the mids are a lot stronger. And this is a boogie, so it's got lots of gain on tap, and I don't even have the master cracked. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. So volume on, gain on 2, master on 3, treble 7, middle 8, bass on 10. Kick over the lead channel. So you see I can now use full bass, completely scoop the mids.